Today's Tuesday Tech Tip is about how to use the new Google Sites. Now, before you even start the website, it's best to think about who is your audience, who is your end user, and what type of information would they expect to see on that website, and how might they expect to have it organized. You really want to think from their perspective. And then also, if you're putting any shared files, just making sure that you have the correct permissions so that your audience can view those items. Now, something else you want to think about is integration and efficiencies, that working smarter, not harder. And that doesn't mean just for yourself, that also means for your end user. So how is this going to work with the other systems in place? If a student is currently looking at Skyward for every class and you're pushing things to a website, that is a couple extra steps for them, but maybe that's what works best. So just being really mindful. And then how often are you going to realistically update this website, and just being honest with your end users on what they should expect, and what is the most efficient workflow. So we'll get some different things we can add to a website so that if you're pushing things to your students in Google Classroom, for example, parents can also access it on your website, so it's not doing more work on your side. And lastly, something to think about with new Google Sites is WordPress will be going away at the end of this school year. The old Google websites, those are going to be going away sometime in 2018. And Google Websites, the new one, is really easy to use, and it works great with all of the Google products that are out there. So now let's get started. Now there's two ways you can start your Google site. You can go to sites.google.com, and that's going to actually bring you to the old Google Sites, but here you'll see the option to go to the new Google Sites, and all of your sites will just be in one location, and you can make as many as you want to, and actually students have the access to create these as well. Another way you can do this is you can go to Google Drive, and here I have a how-to folder, and I have a folder called 3D printing, and I'm going to go ahead and go to New. I'm going to go down to More, and I'm going to click Sites. And now I can create a website right here in this folder. So now we're ready to start our website. And I'm going to start here in the top right corner and work our way backwards. So themes, there's only 6 themes to choose from, so you're not going to lose a lot of time picking out which one, hopefully. And they're really subtle differences. You'll see where the splash of color changes depending on which theme you've chosen. There's a different set of colors depending on which theme you choose, and then each theme also has 3 font styles. So for instance here I'm going to click on Vision, I'll choose green, and let's go with the classic font. You do have this paint bucket if you want to change that splash color to something really specific as well. And that's really it about themes. We'll be able to change these background pictures later, so I'm not going to worry too much about the theme anyway. Pages, you're going to go ahead and make pages here. I'm going to make a website about 3D printing, so my first one is going to be about equipment. And these do take a second to publish. Now I want another page that's going to be about printers themselves, as well as a page about filaments. And I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And while that filament page is getting created there, this printer page, you'll see right now it's across the top, this header, equipment and printers, but I really want printers and filaments to be under equipment. So I'm going to click on printers and drag it and drop it right over equipment. Not above it, but on it. There we go. And now you'll see if I hover over equipment, printers falls down below, and I can do the same with filaments. So here I've added some more web pages. I've got some mother pages with some daughter pages underneath. I'm choosing the Finding and Sharing 3D Models, and this top area is called the header. So if I click on header type, I can choose just to have the title itself, a small banner, or a large banner. I can also go to change the image, and here I can upload a picture from my computer. It's great if you have a class picture or something of your own, but you can also go to select image, and if I go to gallery, these are all images that Google has there that really work well with text to be in front. I can add a URL, upload from Google Drive, or search. So if I type in 3D printing, and want to have something that's kind of themed around what I'm working on, I can do that. I can also click on a specific color, and it's going to filter by those colors, and I can add an image that way as well. And I'm going to make my header even a little smaller. So that's the header. Let's move down to these sections. If I double click in the white space, I'm going to get this great wheel menu, and it's going to give me some options. So I'm going to say text. So let's put in Thingiverse.com. Now you don't have the exact font size, but you can choose between these options here. So we'll go ahead and say title, and the color and font style were again chosen by our themes. Now I'm going to pull this text box over and make it a little smaller. You'll see a grid shows up so you can kind of snap things into place. I'm going to double click again and click on text, and here's where I can explain a little bit about what that website is. I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. And here's this palette. I can also choose if I want to emphasize this section. You'll see there's some different options, or again you can upload or back to that select image. You can choose something that is theme based if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and leave it simple so it's easier to read. Now something else you can do here is I'm going to double click this Thingiverse, and I'm going to use this option here to insert a link, and I can paste it, and I just wanted to show the difference. So this is how you would add a link, which is a little bit different than if I double click and add this URL. Now when I go ahead and paste that URL, that same URL, it's giving me the option to add the entire website. So I'm going to go ahead and insert. And so again, if I double click actual text and I get this chain link, it becomes a link to the website. If I use that embed URL, it actually shows the web page itself. And so it's just a lot easier to read, more easy to read for people, a little more engaging, and it automatically updates itself. So I'm going to go and add some content to another page. I'm going to go to software and creating 3D models. And I already wrote the words Fusion 360 using the title font, and I added a link to the actual page. And that's free software with an educator email if you're interested. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit, and I'm going to add something from Google Drive. And it's going to go through my drive here, and I'm going to find my file, and I could search if I wanted to, but I already know it's in my how-to for 3D printing. And there's some software called Fusion 360 here, and I'm going to click it so it turns blue underneath, and I could continue clicking if I wanted more information, but I'm just going to insert this one Google Doc. Now I did make sure that the Google Doc was viewable so anybody with the link can view, or else it's going to show up that they need permissions. And I'm just going to drag those circles so that it fills up the page. And what's going to happen now is anytime I update this Google document, it's going to be updated on my website, and that way I'm not having to go to my website as much. It's going to kind of update itself. So something else I can do, this was a single file, I can also upload an entire folder. So I'm going to go to that how-to folder, and now I'm going to choose 3D printing. One item was chosen. I'm going to insert. And you're going to see all of my files listed here, first folders, and then alphabetical order. And I can again stretch out this window so it takes up the whole section if I'd like, or I might have some directions on the side. Again, make sure that people have access to view. Anybody with the link can view before you do that. If you forget, update Google Drive and it'll automatically take care of it. So here are my files. They're in list view. If I click on this cog, I can change it from list view to grid view, so that's going to be up to you. If you're doing photos, grid view is great because it's going to give you a little thumbnail image of each photo. And now anytime I add something to that folder, it's going to auto update on my website. Now there's a couple other advanced features that you can add. So for example, Google Calendar, you can add your Google Calendar that is automatically created by your Google Classroom, and that way parents can also see assignments that you push out to students, and you can add things beyond just assignments. You just want to make sure that your calendar is set to public and that you change the time zone. So another feature that's a little more advanced would be in YouTube, if you ever use the playlist feature. So if I start a playlist for 3D printing, I can copy that link. I can also add that link then as an embed code. And anytime I add videos to that playlist, it's going to automatically populate here on my website. So again, it's those things that you can do where you're not going to your website as often, but it's just kind of a hub for things that you're already doing. So I can insert that playlist, and now students can go ahead, click that, and it's going to show all the videos that are in my playlist. So those are a couple of more advanced features. Now we're going to walk across this again from right to left. So I do want to publish my website when I'm ready, and that's when you're going to give it a web address, and this is not something you can change, so I would choose it wisely. I'm going to put 3D printing. And here, do I want people to have to log in and only students and staff can see it, or is this meant for the public, for parents? If that's the case, I'm going to say anybody on the web. And if I don't want things like Google to find it, I can click this, but I'm fine. I want people to be able to find my website. That's why I'm creating it. So do put some thought into that URL, because again, you can't change it easily. You'd have to delete your site and re-upload it with another URL. Here, I'm just going to call this 3D printing. And this is kind of just an overview of what's available. So there's a lot of other features in here, but this is kind of our basic overview. If you wanted to add people to be collaborators on your website, you could do that. If you want to see what it looks like for the public, you could do that. Here are some more settings. Site analytics tell you how many people have been to your site, those sorts of things. Now, when you are ready to have this go live, you want to view your published site. That's going to give you your link again if you forgot what you created it. This is something you could share with your secretary or whoever updates the website for your building, and you're ready to go. So in about 10 minutes, we were able to create a website that had a lot of different functionality. If you're interested in learning more, we will have a class on October 13th at the district office from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And in that time, we'll be able to support you with creating a website of your choosing.